these collectives have changed the way you do business. Collectives are donor groups pooling their funds to, let's be real, to keep and retract football and basketball players. That's it. That's what they're there to do.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into the Maize and Blue Reviews Michigan football and basketball live. We're here weekdays at 1 o'clock. Part of Rivals.com, talking about the latest in Michigan sports, and it's a newsy Monday coming out of the weekend, and we're ready to go, ready to fly and start talking here with you. As if you're watching right now, if you're watching here live, you can always comment in over on wherever you're at, on YouTube. You can get to Twitter, send me a direct message. I'm checking those through the show. YouTube, they got the comments down below. Facebook, all of that. So go ahead, take advantage. I read them as they come in. And today, you might think, well, what are you going to be talking about? It's a long ways off from Michigan football and basketball. Well, front and center, you've got what continues to be the name, image, and likeness debate. And there's supposed to be, I don't know if you want to call it clarity. There's just some more news. The NCAA cracked down, trying to put their foot down, trying to do something. We'll sift through the pay for play and inducement fees. Also, in the NBA, there's some former Michigan Wolverines in the news. You got Jordan Poole for a grab on the knee, and he's playing really well. A guy who hasn't had a chance, save a 1 minute in last night's game, Duncan Robinson, getting paid a lot of money to sit on the bench in these last two games. The Miami Heat needed one thing, really jumped out at you, and it was a lack of three-point shooting, and it's what Duncan Robinson does really well. So we'll get to that, plus some Aidan Hutchinson news that broke this morning. And it's really good news for Aidan Hutchinson. What's going on, Jason? We see him jumping in on the feedback. He will, throughout the show, talking about Jason, be able to weigh in on things that are going on in the world of sports with Michigan. And let's get to this crackdown from the NCAA on the name, image, and likeness. That's what they were talking about. They got some subcommittees. They got some things that they're going to put in play. And talking about that is what we are going to get to. But first, before we go any further, let me tell you about our new sponsor. Hey, folks, Dennis Fithian. And support for the Maize and Blue Review is brought to you today by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer to you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TMBR at manscaped.com. And, well, if you've ever heard someone ask if the curtains match the rug, well, in this case right here, they do. So, folks, take advantage of this. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code TMBR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code TMBR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right. Thanks them for joining us and getting aboard. We're going to get aboard here. Jay Bilas talking about the crackdown and that a lot of people talking about the system is broke. I'll read a couple of his tweets and give you some thoughts on it as well. Bilas saying this morning, college sports isn't broken, quote unquote. The Big Ten is about to ink a multi-billion, that's with a B, media rights deal. Coaches and ADs are complaining. Respectfully, if any coach or AD, their wish is solely to mentor and educate young people, Division II and III, they are wide open. Another tweet, similar. In fact, it's the same one that I have up there. You got it double barrel there on the supposed crackdown, the NCAA. Well, they have this expedited expedited NCAA enforcement process on name, image, and likeness abuses. What a mouthful from the NCAA. Of course, I tripped it up, even though I tried to spell it out. And this is what the NCAA was going to have out as early as this morning. There's a lot of columns and people weighing in on it, but an expedited NCAA enforcement process on name, image, and likeness abuses. I have read through some of the columns this morning, getting quotes from sports agents, and here's pretty much the reaction of the sports agents. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead, NCAA. You can try to do anything that you want here, but an expedited NCAA enforcement process. Of course, they didn't have it come out. They said it was going to be out early this morning. That's not expedited. If it was out early this morning, it would have been out at 8 a.m. They haven't come out with it yet. And this is going to be laughed at for the next 24 or 48 hours from Gene Smith, the OSU athletic director, who had a quote saying, "We know we're going to get lawsuits." That's the quote from Gene Smith, who's part of one of these subcommittees. But an expedited NCAA enforcement process on name, image, and likeness. And we're all waiting to see what that's going to be about. What you have here, in my estimation, is what we call window dressing. You have a booster, you have a money, and you have a school. Everybody knows about the NCAA. We all, let's be honest here, we all love college athletics, but nobody trusts the NCAA. Nobody thinks the NCAA governing body is doing a good job. Their last governing body was a joke, and it continues to be that way. So let's just walk through this in real common sense terms. You don't have to be super smart, and you can understand it if I say super dumb. If you're somewhere in the middle like me, I'm neither of those things. Maybe closer to dumb than smart. I don't know. Depends what day it is. But if you are a booster and you want to bring in a player for your school, you can offer them any money at all to come in and sponsor your company, to do whatever you want. They say you just have to, you can't do nothing. Right? You come in and take some pictures. That could be worth millions of dollars. How are you going to say it's not when you see like these influencers, like, I don't know, Instagram, TikTok? No, and sure, they can dance and they're getting $1 million just to dance on TikTok. You can say, what? You shouldn't be able to get $1 million for a picture if you're a football player to go to a school. Tell that to the 18-year-old girl out in Iowa who's getting $1 million because she can dance to some snappy tunes. Now, the one thing when you really think about the name, image, and likeness, though, you have to. We'll use Michigan here. If let's say you're Jim Harbaugh and Juwan Howard, and you have a booster, you have to have some kind of communication. There has to be some kind of collaboration. You can't have, like, the booster's not out there picking and choosing, like, well, hey, I want this 5-star, so I'm going to offer him the 7-figure deal. You have to have some kind of communication with the school. Now, that's the whole thing. Like, they're saying no communication. Well, let's be real now. The Michigan football program, through like rivals.com and through the other, various like recruiting sites, you think once in a while they're tipping off, well, there's not Jim Harbaugh, but somebody saying, hey, guys, how about we get a story on so-and-so? Hey, they use these as vehicles. And so, well, everybody does that. And, technically, is that legal? No, but do you have to have some kind of communication if you're going to have somebody? I just think too, next year, in looking at some of the highly rated quarterbacks, there's a CJ Carr out of Saline Lloyd Carr's grandson. Most people know who he is. And you also have this quarterback out of California who's rated a little bit higher by rivals, Justin Sayin. And Sayin, when he came in to visit Michigan, the story that came out of it was that Michigan was making Sayin a priority. What if I was a booster and I called the Cars up and said, "Hey, I'm going to give $7 million to CJ to over the next 3 years to come into my automotive business once a month, 3 million." And CJ picks up the phone saying, "Hey, I want in." They're like, "Well, wait a second, we want to call Justin Sayin." You call up Sayin's like, I don't have any 3 months. There has to be some kind of communication there. So when it comes down to the NCAA, this is going to be window dressing that they have going on. We understand that. This is what we're looking at. That is how it is going to go down. Now, let's get to some other news and notes. We got some football and basketball. This is the U of M football and basketball live show. So you've got in the NBA playoffs 2 former Wolverines making news for different reasons: Jordan Poole and Duncan Robinson. Let's get to the Jordan Poole, who has been going off. He went off in the first round, and then he went off the other night. But then there was an incident close to midcourt where you had Jordan Poole reaching out and grabbing Ja Morant's knee. And you have to go back and know that there's been an injury to a Grizzlies player. In the video I'm going to show you, you can see where Ja Morant hurts his knee. And then after that, Jordan Poole does reach out and grab Ja Morant's knee. But Steve Kerr had talked about a code for basketball, and that's getting into cheap shots and things like that. But if you just look at the,
this is how much you can afford it.
You have there's the Morant bringing on Klay Thompson, and then here's the reach where he said he was reaching for the basketball. Was he reaching for the knee? Well, even if he was reaching for the knee, if Ja Morant was going to flying for something and you undercut him or grab his knee, that would be the code here. Reaching for, he doesn't even have the ball is not secure. I don't care if this is the other way around or not. There's just no need. Look at you get a loose ball, is bouncing, and the players are reaching for it. And yes, he grabbed his knee. Now, grabbing the knee, you want to call it foul? All right. But against some kind of code? What are we talking about here? You tell me. Poole, we have some responses here that we can read. Let me get the screen up. Here's what Poole had to say about the incident. "I was going for the ball. I'm not even that type of player. I respect everybody. Hopefully he gets better and we can see him out there next game." That's what Poole had to say about the incident. Now, was he going for the ball? I mean, that's the part that you could argue. I mean, the ball was loose and, he grabbed his knee. And he wasn't in the air, any of that. You want to try to, make some kind of argument, which I have heard over the weekend, that if this was Steph Curry, they would be throwing him out. If this was, so a superstar and Steph Curry, or if that was Draymond Green. And I think both of those have a little bit of truth. When you are a superstar like Steph Curry, everything is going to be magnified even more. When you're Draymond Green and have a rap sheet like Green does, it's going to hurt you when you're Draymond Green. Meanwhile, Jordan Poole has no track record. Ja Morant is a budding superstar, and you want to put him into the superstar category. He's a young superstar. I think he is going to be a superstar. Are we minting him as a superstar right now? He's really close. Now, Morant putting down that Poole broke the code. I don't think that there was any code broken here. Now, Poole could have said I was going for the ball, and I unfortunately grabbed his knee, which I think is more factual. But hey, we are splitting hairs. That's what we're going to do here. Antoine has some thoughts here. I think part of the reason for Harbaugh wanted to leave because Michigan is not willing to go all in with name, image, and likeness, not to mention you stack the academic standards on top, and it's very hard for him to keep up. Well, it's really going to come down here. That could be right, Antoine. Like you're getting into this is just now, it is, say, way different. A lot of the teams before you could legally pay the players, we know were paying the players, and Michigan wasn't. And right now they're not going into the gray area. They have to decide if they're going into the gray area. Before they didn't want to go into the gray area and beyond, even though the majority, certainly top 10 teams, the majority of the top 10 teams were already paying players. Most of their fan bases didn't care. The NCAA couldn't do anything. And they were like, who cares? Like nobody cares, except the teams that were following the rules. They cared. But there were more teams in the top 10 that were not following the rules than the ones that were. And so now it takes a little bit of transition to go from, hey, we're doing it one way and we're going to complain about all of these dirty teams. And now everybody can do it. Now it's legal. And the part about the academic standards, will it hurt Michigan? Potentially. And yet in basketball, Michigan has gone out there, Antoine, 2 years ago, they got Mike Smith and Shawnee Brown. When you consider how many players are on a basketball team, getting 2 players in via transfer. And I know that Mike Smith was a grad transfer, so it's easier, but Shawnee Brown, that's a big impact. Last year, they were able to get Devontae Jones. He was a big impact on the team. So, and right now they have another a transfer talking about the basketball team and Jalen Llewellyn. And when you look at the football team, there's going to be a lot of teams that bring in a lot of different players. And, no, you can't just pick and choose every one. But Michigan gets in one of the best centers in the nation. They lose their starting center and Andrew Vastardis. They went out there via the transfer portal and grabbed Luskin Olowatimi. He could be the biggest transfer in the country. And last week or so, they needed depth on the defensive line, and they got a defensive tackle out of Central Florida in Cam Good. But you're right. No, are they at can you make the case that they are at a disadvantage because they're not playing the same game as a lot of the other universities? Yes, but they have been competitive, and they are still bringing some of the players in. Let's look for some more feedback here. Here's Jason. Poole has been amazing for Golden State in the playoffs. I do not believe it was a dirty play by JP. I do believe he was trying to foul Ja, and it just looks bad in slow-mo. Good point on the slow-mo. When you start putting things, you're reaching for the ball, and then you don't get the ball, and then you make contact with his knee. So what, maybe instinctively, whatever, I'm going to be dirty and twist that knee because I knew he just hit it on Clay's knee. You're right about the slow motion part. The league does not consider Ja Morant a superstar. Wait, if the league does not consider Ja Morant a superstar, they are foolish. Yeah. Can you classify budding young superstar into, because I heard the point being made, if it was Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry is a transcendent, already Hall of Fame player, one of the greats of all time. And so, yeah, I'll make that distinction. Hall of Famer, transformant player, one of the generation's transformative players into a budding superstar. So there is still a line there in what we're talking about. All right, good stuff there from Jason. Here's Trepa. Michigan will never relax their academic standards, I don't think. Well, they had to at one point, and you basically across the board, when it comes to getting into the University of Michigan, it's not, people want to argue, but it's mostly the same throughout the Big Ten in getting in. Now, transfer credits, that's different. And what you find is that if you talk to people that went to Michigan, they like to keep that academic standard and hold the line on transfer credits. Where on the outside, they're like, hey, we want the best football and basketball team, so loosen it up a little bit. And that's just where it's at with that. But I hear where you're at and what you're saying. I don't. They're having some relative success in the transfer portal, so let's see. I mean, if they're going to fall behind pay for play and not give upfront money to players, and then you see teams left and right, hogging up would-be transfers, well, that's how it's going to force Michigan's hand. If they're having success and they're getting a decent amount of transfers and they're able to feel like they're being competitive in name, image, and likeness, why change? Because you could fall behind pretty quick. That's the answer, Trevor. And, you might be right. Antoine says you would think Michigan doing very good this season, recruiting would be a little bit better. On the side note, I've noticed Notre Dame recruiting has been extremely good. Is it because of the name, image, and likeness bag? Well, Antoine, you had Brady Quinn. I saw a quote from him talking about, I'll paraphrase it, getting their name, image, and likeness nonprofit bagged together for community and God. I mean, he kind of rolled it out there like that. I do think Marcus Freeman, he's a young guy, good looking guy. And, it's working for him out there. He's got that shine. I think that there's a possibility that name, image, and likeness, and also Harbaugh's flirtation with the Vikings. I know Michigan fans, I don't like to hear it myself, but it was definitely being used against him from day one. Like, you can't trust Harbaugh. He'll be gone next year. Where if you're a Michigan fan, you'll say, he said he was going to try this, and then he told everybody that it's never going to happen again. Well, Michigan rivals are saying, that's what he said. He didn't say anything last year, but this was the same song and dance last year. And he couldn't get a sniff at the NFL this year. However you want to look at it, he turned his nose up. They didn't want him. Is it a possibility? You at least have to think about that. There's a possibility that Harbaugh doing what he did with the Vikings could be hurting some momentum. But there's lots of camps. There's it's a beautiful day outside, but you've got a lot of time when you come down and look, the very best players, they can be holding back, waiting for the biggest bag. And maybe Michigan, if we're sitting around and it's getting close to, we're in May. If we're sitting around late July and August and Michigan's sitting there and they're not anywhere sniffing the top 25, they don't have any more five. They don't have a 5-star. Hell, they don't have a 4-star. Well, that name, image, and likeness and the boosters, there might be an influx of money, coming in through there. But I hear what you're saying is, Antoine, he's telling that basketball is a lot easier to fill up. Antoine talking about using the when you put the church involved in there and the collection plate and Notre Dame. Now I know what you're saying, but when it comes down to that, all right. What else do we have here? We have let's see. Oh, Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson, it is official. I have the tweet on the screen, but let me read it for people that are listening to the podcast only. Mike McCartney, that is Aiden Hutchinson's agent. He put a tweet out this morning that said, thrilled for Hutchinson agreeing to terms for his rookie contract with the Lions. And he tagged Aiden and the Lions. Ian Rappaport giving the details. 4 years, fully guaranteed deal, $35,713,038. A bonus of $23,153,372. All right. 35.5 guaranteed for Hutch over the next 4 years. That's good. And 23.1 million of that he gets now. Oh, as soon as he signs that, is that sitting in his bank already? Something like that. I mean, it's about, I'd like to just be looking at my phone, signing the deal, and then say, let's just look at how that 23.1, let's see how that 23,153,372 looks in the bank. So yeah, congratulations to Aiden Hutchinson. One last on the feedback, and it's Antoine. You can't tell me a kid is willing to turn down millions of dollars for the love of the game. Maybe not all of them, but like the majority are. Well, Antoine, I think you're right on. I agree with you. If it's coming down, who's writing the biggest checks to get upfront guaranteed money, that is going to go back to some of the terminology that I was reading today that I think is going to stay out there. And let's look at some of that terminology again. Upfront money, pay for play, inducement pieces. That all means, when we're talking about name, image, and likeness, that's what upfront money, that is a signing bonus to come. If you want to come to play at Michigan, I have a $7 million. I have a, 7-figure, maybe 7 million. I have $1 million up front if you want to come. That is what pay for play is. That is upfront money. That is inducement pieces. How the NCAA is going to have some kind of crackdown on that, they can say, hey, you better not be giving any upfront money. What are they going to do? You've got a third party. Like, the NCAA has no control over me. If I call a 5-star quarterback and say, hey, here is $1 million. You just have to come in and sign this contract. Go to Michigan. The NCAA can't do anything about that. Now they're saying, well, don't get involved and have contact with the school. You have to behind the scenes. Now, so them trying to stop boosters or agents, they can't. The NCAA is toothless. They can do nothing. They could put out Gene Smith, like get these guys in the subcommittee. These guys ought to just sit around and order room service and drink as much as they can, because they're probably sitting around like, we can't do anything. What are we going to do? These guys are lawyers. They know better. They just have to put some strongly worded, comments up there to make it look like they're doing something. It's pay for play. Let's be honest. You're right, AJ. Come on. Now, can they get and put some strong letters down about you can't go when a player's already there, luring him away, tampering? Yeah, that's trying to, which is also difficult because, again, you have a third party tampering. But this is the way it is going to be. And I know that you read a lot of columns. Well, the market will correct. The market could be going up. When teams like, there are a lot of teams that are like Michigan. There are more teams like, like USC and Texas A&M and, the teams that have been paying before with rogue boosters like, I don't know, Bama or whatever. They've already had this system in play, so it's real easy for them to keep doing it. The other teams that haven't are like, wait a second. But you better believe when they see this stuff and they say, well, how are we going to stop them? They're like, we can't. Well, what are they going to do? You going to stay on the sideline then? While inducement pieces and pay for play are happening? That's it. That's where it's at right now. All right. Where are we at right now? I wanted to tell everybody that if you are watching the Maize and Blue Review here, we're here weekdays, and we're talking Michigan football and basketball and other Michigan sports live. If you want to join us at rivals.com, the Den, where we talk Michigan all the time, sun up, sun down, subscribe to the Maize and Blue Review. You can also follow us on all the socials there. We got it going. And I even got a TikTok going, although I'm not doing too much to promote that yet because I just got a few videos up there, but they're really good videos. Believe it or not. I said we had a last one, but Jason wanted to agree with Antoine. The famous saying is practice makes perfect. They've been doing it for years in the South. We end this on a sad note, but then an uplifting one as well. Condolences go out to the Michigan State basketball family on the loss of Adreian Payne at 31 years old. Terrible story of Payne losing his life at 31 years old. And we'll all remember the relationship he had with Lacey Houseworth. That was, it was great to see back then. It was, filled up everybody's heart, and condolences to the entire Michigan State basketball family for the loss of Adreian Payne. Today, we made it here in Michigan. What are we at? May the 9th. These last 2 days, man, I've just been out walking around, hitting the golf ball a little bit, looking out. Perfectly blue skies. Sun, it's not too hot yet. It's glorious. So I'm going out, enjoying some of that sunshine. Hope you've had a chance to do that as well. Put you in wherever your mood is at, put you in a little bit better of a mood, getting out there and soaking some of those rays in. So do that. And we'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll be talking about name, image, and likeness, probably, because maybe by then, this thing that was supposed to happen this morning and is probably happening right now, and people will be digesting it and talking about it. But the prediction is that you're going to see it and you're just going to laugh. So have a smile at the expense of the NCAA and the name, image, and likeness. And we will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. See you.